Imagine yourself being a lone developer making a brand new video game from absolute scratch. Only skills and tools you got were getting inspired by Final Fantasy XVI, plus a love for Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry. No programming experience, no large-scale team to help you out. Instead of making a simple 2D game, you wind up finding a way to pull off something big, publishing it on the internet in the big 2016 during the great action game drought. While Devil May Cry 5 was heavily being waited on, you get picked up by Sony. As much as they helped you, they in equal parts fucked you over to the point where you started going bald because of bad PR issues and Sony deciding to change parts of the plot. After all the blood, sweat and tears, the game you bled so hard to put together finally gets released to a bunch of hate on launch from PC performance issues, which is justified, and some unjustified hate towards the game as a whole. So is it actually a disappointment? Or will this game go down as an action game classic? Deviljho here. I have finally played the Lost Soul Aside game, so I'm here to air my thoughts on it, while letting everyone know my opinion. Keyword here, my opinion on the game. It's fine if you legit have a different opinion to mine. It's fine. I'll be looking at what it got right and wrong while keeping in mind the funky circumstances the game went through, starting with the pros. One thing this game got right out of the gate is the visual design. Sure, it looks like it's trying to be Final Fantasy 15, the main pro tag looks like Noctis, most of the world looks Final Fantasy-ish, locations, the art style looks like they're trying to copy Square Enix's homework. Yet it kinda makes it its own, using the larger-than-life castles sometimes, the where the fuck am I? Trippy looking dimensions that came out of a freaking sci-fi anime, looking nothing short of eye candy, backed by a strong art style, not forgetting the pretty particle effects, adding a fuck ton of pretty looking visual flares to projectiles, making every laser beam look way more anime than it has any right to be, especially the Victor boss, delivering on the promise of the epic spectacle that was shown off in 2016. The Final Fantasy character models look pretty good. I'm even a pretty big fan of the monster and creature designs that are kind of ripped straight from Yu-Gi-Oh! They can be pretty freaky looking. Hell, I can see a lot of electronics shops playing this game on a brand new 4K TV just to show off the flashy colors it can handle, because of how beautiful this game looks, that is complemented by some of the music in the background. Which reminds me of the kick-ass music this game has that I'm not putting in the background for copyright reasons, plus I don't want to kill off my already dead storage. Anyways, the OST in the battle is very Final Fantasy / Nier Automata, using battle tracks that mix orchestral and industrial beats together to make something to pump you up while duking it out against bosses and foes. Even the atmospheric stuff gets into the whole vibe of the world. Plus, it's composed by the same composer who made the OST for the Final Fantasy Versus, which became Final Fantasy 16. That checks out. Even though the music works for this game, it's a bit on the generic side for me. If I'm being real, it's not like Persona, Devil May Cry, or Ninja Gaiden music where battle tracks are distinct in my opinion. That could change after a few playthroughs of this game, but more importantly, what made me actually like the game is the actual gameplay and combat, selling the entire title for me. I'm gonna set the record straight right off the bat. If you're expecting something like Devil May Cry or Ninja Gaiden, then it ain't exactly like these. It is inspired by these, yes, but it's trying to do its own thing. In my eyes, the game excels at doing just that, because our boy Kaiser has a few tricks up his sleeve with that Dragon Arena. God, that's a dumb name for a character in anything. The transforming dragon has an all-rounder saber that can judgment cut and drive. It's a pretty good all-rounder that can take care of enemies pretty quickly, while pulling off moves similar to a certain motivational speaker. It even has melee rainstorm that looks pretty fucking cool. Later on, you get the Greatsword, a heavy hitter focused on dealing damage, countering attacks, all that good shit. Plus a double-bladed staff throwing out projectiles, making people who have no clue how to combo enemies look like they know how to juggle and style on fools. But in all honesty, it was the most fun I had with a weapon in an action game in a while. We don't get to see it often in these kinds of games. I think it should be in some of the larger franchises. Each one of these has a unique dodge of its own. Sure, it's a dash, but each dash has its own speed. There's also a handy block button. That's a mix of Royal Guard and Sekiro parry. You got 2 blocks, where the perfect one can come from one highlighted attack. Where if blocked the enemy is staggered, the shield meter gets depleted, but remember, it's more like a parry than Royal Guard, because these are just straight up blocks. If anything, Golden Fleece from the OG God of Wars is more similar to Royal Guard than this game's block feature. One thing I will say, both dodge and block are responsive, however, both have a major problem that I'll get into later on. So, how fun is it to beat down on them enemies? I gotta say, dude, for a game that was made by one guy and after it got picked up by Sony, while going through hell and back with poor mismanagement and lacking support compared to other PlayStation IPs, this shit was a fucking blast in my opinion. Sure, the sound effects don't sound their best, but by god, the attacks actually feel pretty damn weighty. The Greatsword packs a huge punch, dude. The other 2 weapons feel pretty damn snappy. The dodges made me feel like Nightcrawler, the blocks make you feel like an unstoppable badass. Once you get them right, even the arena powers make you feel like a pretty powerful anime main character, making fighting enemies and bosses in this game a fun time, which reminds me, boss battles in this game are a blast to go through, offering up one hell of a spectacle while being fun challenges that test what you learned about the game so far, whether it's the various armored confidants of Arena, Virgil, Sin, Devil Trigger, various Yu-Gi-Oh monsters, Victor, and many more. When it comes to the spectacle of the visual flair, the game delivers on that promise it gave since 2016, with Victor being an absolute light show with sexy golden knives being flung at you in various patterns that are pretty well telegraphed once you know what you're doing. I sure as hell didn't, that's why I was getting thrashed. Hell, I didn't know about the block timings, but a thing about most of the bosses, the main health bar is the armor meter. Waste the golden bar to wail on these bosses, not gonna lie. I actually liked fighting a lot of these large-ass Yu-Gi-Oh monsters. Not only were they absolute eye candy, they were a fun-ass challenge. Having you dodge, block, keeping you on your toes the entire time. An issue is that all the fights are broken down into phases, which I will get into later. This title has a crazy level of combo potential for the very reason of the flashy animations, fast weapon switching. The moveset from what I played so far is pretty abundant. The weapon switching might not be DMC levels of fast, but if you get used to it, you'll be styling on enemies using the entire arsenal in a heartbeat. Hell, as of now, I'm seeing a ton of DMC players on here pulling off some of the most stylish looking moves to be seen in an action game like ever. Keep in mind, this all came from one guy who was learning how to code an action game as he went along. He kept getting screwed over by the publisher who took him in, so Lost Soul aside, definitely has a ton of cracks in that we'll get into. The obvious one is the bare bone English voice acting. Dude, I thought this level of voiceover was obsolete. A lot of the cast sound like they're forcing their performances in, like when Kaiser is falling off of a cliff. Even when he's just talking, the voice doesn't match the character model. Some of the other characters sound a little off. It might be an objective negative, but overall, I like the fact that this janky voice acting is reminding me of simpler times when video game voice acting was allowed to be bad, giving birth to some memes. Hope the internet can cook up a few funny ass memes from the dialogue in this game. One other thing this title got completely wrong was the bare bones storyline. I know these games don't need to have a compelling story at all. I mean, look at the Ninja Gaiden games. Half of the time I got no clue what's going on for the life of me. I don't care, I'm having too much of a good time playing this ninja game. The same applies to this one title. The basic rundown is you're playing as Kaiser, a dude who's resisting the Empire. He goes to trash the Empire's festival with his sister. They get separated. The game turns into Drakengard by the pact with the dragon called Arena. His sister's soul gets stolen, so Kaiser has to go and retrieve his sister's soul by dimension hopping while knocking the Empire down. That's all there is to it, a basic Final Fantasy-esque plot. Where it falls apart is the characters aren't that interesting at all. The main protag, Kaiser, is supposed to be sort of a wisecracker at times, plus as serious as modern Cloud Strife. How he's written though, he feels more like an uninteresting hybrid. Of Cloud and Dante, most of his jokes don't land like at all the tense moments fall flat. I didn't feel serious emotions when shit hit the fan for Kaiser. I didn't give a shit about the side characters like at all. Arena at best as a backseat gamer. All what the cutscenes are good for is the over-the-top action that is a joy to watch, but the plot itself is just there. Don't expect anything on the level of Devil May Cry 3 or God of War Trilogy. Oh, and do not expect Final Fantasy level writing either way. Which reminds me, one thing the Final Fantasy inspiration did to hold the title back is the hub world and slow start. Sure, the game starts off with full Devil Trigger. After the dream sequence, the game drags on, moving through the hub world. The carnival sabotage is boring to play along with. My dude, why is this shit dragging on for so long? Every other action game usually starts off with the action. DMC5, the slowest start in the Itsuno Devil May Cry games, started off with the action. The Greek God of Wars kicked things off with unadulterated action. These by far are the most story-heavy action titles that ever came out. Hell, Final Fantasy 16 and the Final Fantasy 7 remake had much more action-packed beginnings, hyping the player up to get through the game. This title starts with forced walking locked movements to add insult to injury, the drab-looking hub world that you can't move around in freely. It's a good thing that you don't spend too much time in this hub world town. If you did, I would have gone berserk. The thing I really despised were the floating arena head sections. They were awkward to control, breaking the pace of the game. I have no clue why they're here. The only thing they do is grind the pace to a halt, but hey, at least it's rare. The dodging and blocking work well in this title, sure. There's only one thing holding them back, it's called stamina bar. What the shit is this, man? I didn't know I was playing a goddamn Souls game. Why the fuck are my dodges being gimped by this translucent meter? It's like if the trickster dash in Devil May Cry was timed by a meter, only handing you this slow ass roll, leaving you open to more flying attacks. The worst offender is the blocking being tied to the stamina meter. Why on God's green earth is the block button stuck to a goddamn stamina bar? All what it does is gimp you to death, since the parry actually has enough potential to get worked into a combo alongside the dodge, a viable option for mobility. In this game, when it comes to platforming plus moving around, gap closures included, a stamina meter winds up chopping the two essential mechanics of the game, making it frustrating to use. I just believe stamina bars are completely useless in these types of games. They belong in Souls-likes. The pace of these aren't as fast as a character action title, but putting them in a Devil May Cry-like game is a terrible idea. Overall, what I'm seeing so far is that the game is being unfairly hated at the moment because of some unrealistic expectations after 10 years of development. But remember folks, this is a AA title that started by one dude who literally taught himself how to develop video games, right from writing down lines of code to making models, deciding to make a hack and slash game, which is one of the hardest games to make. Usually they're made by teams of 200 plus people. He did it on his own at first, then it went to a 30-people studio as the game was getting compromised left, right, and center by Sony. I'm surprised the game came out in a state where it delivered on most of what it promised back in 2016. Sure, Bing lost most of his hair, girlfriend, and sanity in the process just to make his vision a reality. Not many people, even those as introverted as Bing, would go out of their way to make their vision of a dream game come to fruition inside of a grueling business like the modern gaming industry that we have now. Sony themselves put in a ton of setbacks that warrant its own video. The PC stuttering issues are a legit point of criticism. I mean, dude, if I were playing a video game that kept stuttering mid-combat, turning into a slideshow, I'd be pissed off. But for all what it's worth, the development team is listening to a lot of the complaints. Expect the game to get better as time goes on. Hell, I think it might have a cult-like status after a few patches. Other than that, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Bing for making shit happen. With that out of the way, we come to the end of this video. Anyone played Lost Soul aside, what were your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button and smash that subscribe button real Impact style. At 10,000 subscribers, I'll pull off a whole ass Dante combo video in this entire cosplay. Trust me, we're pretty damn close. Hype this video up and share it with your friends to push it further into the algorithm, and ring the bell icon to get notified on whenever I upload other Lost Soul aside or other action game videos. This has been the Devil Joe signing out.